Andrei Arlovski versus Ben Rothwell take on each other in the main card opener of UFC on ESPN 4. San Antonio Edwards versus RDA. This is a great heavyweight fight, man. I've been waiting for this fight for a while. This is a good one. This is a really good one, okay? And I think it's going to be a show, and I think Ben Rothwell's style is really going to bring some action out of Arlovski, which hasn't been there in his past few fights. Because let's face it, as much as I like Arlovski, boring. Fucking boring in his last few fights. He stalls, he lands what he needs to, and he doesn't do much. And that's okay if you're a flyweight. You know, the audience will be okay with that. When you're a heavyweight, they go into a fight tuning in for fireworks. And it kind of upsets the crowd a bit, which is why Andrei Arlovski's been booed a lot. He's won 2 fights out of his last 11. And he's still signed to the UFC. I have no idea what the UFC standards are anymore, but Arlovski shouldn't be there. He really shouldn't. And then you got Ben Rothwell coming back. Some people thought he beat Blagoy Ivanov. I thought it could go either way. He was the forward pressure fighter, so maybe it could go to him more than it could go to Ivanov. Ivanov's a good guy. As much as I've shit-talked him, he's decent. He's top 10 worthy. And Ben Rothwell could have arguably beat him. So he's done a lot more. He's done a lot better recently than Andrei Arlovski has. And I think that's going to carry him through this fight. I think he's going to put on the pressure on Arlovski. And I think with Arlovski, he's usually the bigger guy. A lot of these young up-and-comers that are taking him on are kind of real hesitant to sort of commit to anything with him. You know, because they feel like, oh, he's a tricky veteran. When really what you have to do is kind of, at heavyweight, you have to have no respect for the veterans. You know, because you've got to know that you're a young guy, you can take a shot, and you can give a fucking big one back. And these heavyweights' chins, all these veterans, they're not going to be able to take your shots as well as you're going to be able to take them. And you kind of have to go in there with no respect. And I think it's one of the few divisions that you can do that in. You know what I'm saying? Heavyweights, if you're athletic and you hit hard, you can do well. And I know Ben Rothwell isn't one of these young up-and-comers. I know he's been doing it for a while, but I think he's a veteran enough to sort of not have that big respect for Arlovski and sort of be timid and shy out there. I think he's going to walk down Arlovski and beat him up real bad. I really do. I think Ben Rothwell gets the job done. Does he get it done by finish? I think he may get it done by finish. I really think he might get this one done by finish. He hits hard enough. He's a big guy. He's going to outweigh Andrei Arlovski. He's taller. He's got a longer reach. He's younger. I think he's going to be the physically imposing guy in there. And I think he's going to walk down Arlovski. Not throw a bunch of feints and be scared of what Arlovski's going to throw back. I think he's going to walk down Arlovski, put his size on him, and start fucking piecing him up. And put the pace on him a little bit. And I think Arlovski's going to crack in the second round. And get caught by Ben Rothwell. And maybe put out. I'm going to actually predict a late stoppage from Ben Rothwell here. End of the second round. Or in any place of the third round. I think Ben Rothwell's going to get the stoppage. I like Andrei Arlovski. You've won 2 out of your last 11. I just can't. I can't bet on you, man. I can't even respect you in the UFC after that. You know, I know, like, guys lose, but it's just 2 out of 11. That's just like, I can't even talk right now about how disgraced that makes me feel that I'm watching a fight in the UFC where a guy is 2 wins out of his last 11. That annoys me. But I know what they're doing. They're keeping him on because they don't want him signing a contract with Bellator and bringing names and eyes over there. So I get it, UFC, but there comes a point where you've got to still have those standards. What happened to back in the day, UFC? You know what I'm saying? I remember UFC 5-10 years ago. They used to fucking be, if you lose 2 in a row, or you're at fucking risk. If you lose 2 in a row, no matter who the fuck you are, you're at risk. And if you lose 3, goodbye. Unless you're bringing millions of pay-per-view buyers, that's it, goodbye. And that's how it used to work. And I feel like if you want to still put out the best talent you can, okay? And I feel like if you still want to put out that you're the best fight sport in the world, I think you need to go back to having those standards. I really do. I'm sick of seeing these guys. They lose so many, but because they're a little bit of a name, the UFC just keeps them on to avoid other companies getting them. I don't get that. I don't know why the UFC does this by sort of keeping on to these older guys like Anderson Silva. it actually makes the other companies look bad when they pick up these other fighters. Because what that other fighter does, and you can see this with Lyoto Machida, in the UFC he was losing a few fights in a row. He gets picked up by Bellator. What that shows every fan of the sport is, oh, Bellator is just a place for guys that can't cut it in the UFC anymore. Rory McDonald loses a few fights in the UFC. He gets whipped up by Bellator. He's the champion. What does that show you? Shows you that it was good. So I think the UFC should be way less hesitant to let some of these aging guys go. Aging? It sounds like I'm saying Asian. To let some of these aging guys go that have terrible records. Because it shows how bad the other companies are when they pick up these new guys. And the new guys start beating all their contenders. And it shows that the UFC is the best sport in the world. And I'm telling you, man, if this fight is a snooze fest, I don't think it will be, because I think Ben Rothwell is going to really put on the pace, put on the pressure, and force the fight out of Andrei Arlovski. But if this fight is a snooze fest, like, it's tough to watch, man. It really is tough to watch. Like, they do those little promos before the fights. You know, there's little bits on the screen where they sort of hype up the next fight that's coming up. They get some highlights on the screen from the guys. And how are you going to hype up a fight from a guy who's won 2 out of his last 11? Legend or not, it's fucking UFC. You're supposed to be the best fighters in the world. When do you call it? When do you call it? When do you say no more? Ben Rothwell's going to win. If Arlovski wins, credit to him, man. Credit to him, keep him on. But if he loses, I'd like to see him go, if I'm honest with you. He's going to keep getting fucking beaten by these guys in the UFC that aren't any good themselves, that are just beating him because of their youth. Send him over to Bellator, let him make his money. I don't know why the UFC does. I don't know. Is this a prediction video? Fucking Ben Rothwell's going to win. I don't know. I don't even know what this video is about. I just got angry. Like and subscribe. Click that. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.